morning, America. It's Friday.
It's time for Mornings at 8 with Jonathan Mark on AM 1480 WLEA.
Oh, you gotta love Paul Harvey. Right as usual, this is indeed Friday. Finally Friday, the end of the week. Yippee, here comes the weekend. And as I said yesterday or the day before or something, with two major holidays coming right smack in the middle of the week, 1 week apart, I don't think, you can't really get any momentum going because you figure we have a 2-day weekend coming up. And then there's 2 days and there's Christmas. And then 2 days and there's a 2-day weekend. And then 2 days and there's New Year. And then 2 days and there's a 2-day week. So you really can't get any momentum going at this time, especially when it comes right smack in the middle of the week. So probably a lot of people are going to be taking a lot of time off the next 2 weeks. And if you are at work, who cares? Because here comes a holiday. It's like that. Yes, sir. Let me see what's going on here. Well, actually, we have a lot. Let me just go like this. We have a lot going on here. Let me see. We lead off with this. Were I to ask you, where do you think the world, this is weird, where do you think the world's oldest forest is? The world's oldest forest. Would it be maybe South America? How about Asia? Or maybe Africa or Europe or something? But no, the world's oldest forest, according to this research, is right here in New York State. Huh? Where did I get this from? The New York Post. Scientists have unearthed evidence in New York of the world's oldest forest dating back nearly 400 million years. The fossilized forest, which is 386 million years old, was discovered in a quarry in the upstate town of Cairo. This is New York, so you never really know. It's C-A-I-R-O, Cairo, I guess. That's about 33 miles south of Albany. The discovery was reported in the latest issue of Current Biology and is believed to be 3 million years older than the previous world record holder, which is located about 25 miles away. So we have the world's two oldest forests right here in New York State. Researchers say the recent findings give new insight into the evolution of forests, indicating that the Earth's transition to them began 10 million years before trees started growing from seeds. But then they don't say what it was before they were forests. I don't know. This is the co-author of the study, Dr. Chris Berry of Cardiff University in the UK. He says we are really getting a handle on the transition of the Earth to a forested planet. Researchers think the forest was home to a wide-ranging network of trees that reproduce using spores rather than seeds, as well as a rich array of vegetation that was eventually wiped out by a flood. Well, it had to be a big flood. I mean, the Catskills, the Catskills are mountains. That had to be a heck of a flood. Anyway, it's surprising to see plants which were previously thought to have mutually exclusive habitat preferences growing together on the ancient Catskill Delta, said Berry. So anyway, this would have looked like a fairly open forest with small to moderate-sized looking trees with individual and clumped tree fern-like plants of possibly smaller size growing between them. And they've identified spectacular woody roots that belong to a fern-like tree. That's a big fern. The roots contain multiple leaves of branching and short-lived perpendicular feeder roots, which researchers credit with transforming the interaction of plants and soils. Anyway, it's kind of neat. In order to really understand, he says, how trees began to draw down carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, we need to understand the ecology and habitats of the very earliest forests and their rooting systems. So I think that's kind of cool. And as I said, what was it before there were forests? Now that I would find really interesting too. But anyway, okay, and what else have we here? Well, this is certainly big news for New York State and the Bronx and probably the entire world. The state of New York has awarded a $3.5 million capital grant to help build the first museum in the world dedicated to hip-hop music and culture, the governor announced yesterday. The $80 million Universal Hip Hop Museum is scheduled to open in the South Bronx in 2023. The borough, better known as the Boogie Down Bronx in old school hip hop circles, is considered the birthplace of hip hop. Wowee. Oh boy. Anyway, let me see. Officials say the museum will generate tourism and tax revenues for the Bronx and New York, just as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame does the same thing in Cleveland. And that's according to the museum's director, Rocky Bucano. He said the museum will celebrate hip-hop culture, not just the music. And that means there'll be exhibits on breakdancers, graffiti artists, disc jockeys, and all that, dating back to the 1970s. He says the museum is part of the renaissance of the Bronx. The Bronx is coming back, he said, but the museum will be of the people and for the people. And the museum also has corporate partners, including Microsoft and MIT, and support from hip-hop artists such as Nas and LL Cool J. Now, who is LL Cool J? If you watch NCIS LA, he's... Here you go. Okay, anyway, so that's Sam. NCIS LA. Okay, yes, the museum has also received a $6.5 million grant from the city of New York. So there you go. Anyway, groundbreaking is going to happen sometime over the summer. And what else? We have this. I got a whole bunch of stuff this morning. Never enough time. This is from the Rockland Westchester Journal News. Playing Santa could soon require a mandatory background check. And I think that's a really good idea. I thought that there was a background check. But anyway, State Senator James Skoufis has introduced a bill that this week that specifically requires background checks for a person who will be employed as a children's character. And there's a similar bill has not yet been introduced in the Assembly. You thought that there would be, but I guess not. The law would apply to would-be workers who dress as Santa, the Easter Bunny, or other child-centric characters that interact with children. Employers would be mandated to run a person's name through child abuse and sex offender registries. Knowingly hiring an offender would be a Class A misdemeanor. Adults dressed as Santa or other children's characters interact with hundreds of thousands of New York children every year. Yes, they do, Skoufis said, and including by having the kids sit on their lap. That's right. Okay. Others who work with children, like coaches for youth sports, are required to undergo screening to determine if they have a history of child sexual abuse. Skoufis said, "There is a list, and it's time we check it twice." The disturbing reality, he says, is that around the country there have been incidents where sex offenders have been hired as Santa, exposing children to significant threats. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And he says, it's shocking to me that there isn't a law already. It's shocking to me, too. You'd think that there would be. He says, let's not waste another holiday season allowing children to be put at risk. So Cherry Hill Programs supplies hundreds of Santas around the United States, and the company performs extensive background checks prior to employment, without exception. But apparently there is not a law in New York State. So if signed into law, this bill would take effect the following November after the bill is signed. However, as I said, there's still not a sponsor in the Assembly. And boy, you think there would be. I don't know. Okay, fine. And what else have we here? Now, I mentioned earlier this week, I think it was on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. I don't know. I was in Almond. Let me see. Either Tuesday or Wednesday. Who penned A Visit from St. Nicholas the night before Christmas? And I found this on aleteia.org. A Visit from St. Nicholas first appeared in the New York newspaper The Troy Sentinel on December 23, 1823. At the time of its publication, there was no name attached to it, and it remained unattributed for 13 years until Clement Clark Moore stepped forward to claim the work. The story went that Moore had written the poem for his children, but a housekeeper found it and liked it so much she sent it to the newspaper without Moore's knowledge. By 1844, the poem was included in an anthology of Moore's work, but there was a problem. The family of Henry Livingston, Jr., who died 5 years after the work was published and 8 years before Moore took credit, claimed that Henry had been reading A Visit from St. Nicholas to them for 15 years prior to his publication. So his family said he was reading it 15 years before it appeared in the paper. And the case for Livingston as the author rests on his Dutch background. His mother was Dutch, and there were several Dutch references in the poem. So they go on and on and on, and it turns out that it's kind of like one family against another family. Livingston's kids, and even a neighbor girl, were adamant that Henry had been reading the poem as early as 1807, and it was first published in 1823. They even claimed to have had an original copy written in Henry's hand, complete with revisions and scratch marks. Unfortunately, the house containing this valuable evidence burned down, taking all hope of a definitive conclusion with it. So the poem was analyzed by a bunch of people who analyzed poems, and one of them said it could not have been more because it didn't fit all the rest of his poems. So it was written in a different meter, and it wasn't the same. So anyway, there's no definitive proof one way or the other about who wrote this poem. But the fact is, there it is. Somebody wrote it. Somebody wrote the poem because there it is. And it's a beautiful poem. Actually, it's a sort of a cliche. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the... But if you read that poem line by line, it is an amazing piece of writing. It's as if you're standing there with the author, watching all this transpire. That's how well done it is. It's an amazing piece. It might be one of the most beautiful poems in the English language. And as I said, it's so cliche, every night before Christmas. But it really is a gorgeous poem. It really is. And what else? How much time? Oh, boy. Oh, yeah, okay. What do I do first? How about I do this? Personal anecdote here with Christmas coming up, right? I'm 12 years old. And as I've said a gazillion times, we lived in West Babylon. Oh, yeah, right. So we lived in West Babylon. I'm 12 years old. And it's Christmas Eve. And there's going to be a midnight mass. So we attended a church in the adjacent town. I think it was Lindenhurst. I really don't remember. It's about maybe 15 minutes away. So I was a member of a drum and bugle corps. I have a very short attention span. So I was a member of a drum and bugle corps. And I think we'll have to return to this later because we have Rob Carolyn on the line, I believe. Yes, Rob.
Well, you're going to leave me hanging? I don't find out what happens?
Oh, you had to...
Oh, come on.
My
That's
show
not
was...
fair.
My
you're
show
at a drum and bugle corps. You're at Midnight Mass. Come on, fill me in.
No. Oh, no. My show was archived on our website. So you can check it out there. This is a fairly lengthy, dumb story.
Okay. I'll have to go.
Yeah, it's
Well,
pretty...
I will definitely go back now to listen to it.
Okay, I try to wipe it out of my memory banks, and Rob, I just can't. It's been years and years, and I just cannot wipe this out of my memory banks. Anyway, so how's the weather looking?
Not too bad. In fact, we've got a warm-up headed our way, Jonathan, which is certainly good news. Anybody who's got some traveling to do the next couple of days looks pretty good. With the warmer temperatures, we'll be able to shut off the lake effect. That's producing some cloudiness this morning. Got a couple of bands coming off Lake Erie, a couple coming off Lake Ontario, and that is working its way across the central and western part of the state this morning. So a lot of spots are mostly cloudy this morning. We've got a few breaks. We did have some snow overnight. That now is starting to have the tendency to diminish because we don't have quite as much wind blowing across the lake. I think eventually we'll see a few breaks of sunshine and maybe a leftover flurry. Temperatures today 25 to 30. Jonathan, the sun came up this morning at 7:36. It's going to set tonight at 4:40. Tomorrow, shortest day of the year, and then the good news is the sunsets start getting earlier. The sunrises start getting earlier. The sunsets starting getting later. We've reached the bottom for the year, and 6 months from now, we'll actually have the longest day of the year. Partly cloudy tonight. We're going to be chilly. If you're headed out, take the heavier jacket, 10 to 15. Tomorrow, partial sun. Warms up to about 35 to 40. Anybody interested in the football game at Foxborough, Massachusetts tomorrow night? Looks good for the Patriots-Bills game. Skies are partly cloudy. Kickoff temperature 33. It'll drop into the 20s during the game. Looking ahead to Sunday, sun and clouds 45. And we are probably going to see daytime highs in the 40s Monday and Tuesday and around 40 for Christmas Day.
That's not bad at all. Not bad at all. Not as cold as it's been.
No, absolutely not. Looks like we lose the cold probably right through the end of next week.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Rob. See you next week.
You got it.
Okay, bye.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles,
Here's Eddie Garcia.
In the NBA, just 4 games on the schedule, but one of them was one of the most anticipated regular season games of the year, with the Bucks beating the Lakers 111-104 in a battle of the top 2 teams in the league. Milwaukee now is 1 game up on LA with the best record in the NBA at 25-4 thanks to that win. They were led by star Giannis Antetokounmpo, who had 34 points and 11 rebounds. Milwaukee's bench also outscored the Lakers reserves 34-4 in that victory. Rockets go to LA, beat the Clippers 122-117. Russell Westbrook 40 points to win for Houston. Jazz over the Hawks 111-106. Spurs down the Nets 118-105. College basketball news: James Wiseman, the star freshman at Memphis, who was suspended for 12 games for receiving an improper benefit, announced he's leaving school and will prepare for the NBA draft, where he's projected to be a top 5 pick. On the court, number 4 Duke beat Wofford 86-57. It was Seton Hall upsetting number 7 Maryland 52-48, and number 12 Auburn beat NC State 79-73.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
More people around the world are wearing Nike products. Its sales rose in its fall quarter, and its earnings were stronger than expected. However, Wall Street was expecting even better numbers in North America, and Nike stock is lower before the markets open. Nike is the world's largest footwear maker, though it's now competing with Adidas, Skechers, Vans, and others. Tesla shares are rallying again this morning. The stock's been rallying on optimism about how many cars will roll out of its new factory in China. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin helped the mood on Wall Street yesterday by saying Phase 1 of the U.S.-China trade deal will be signed early next month. All 3 major averages closed in record territory. The Dow rose 137 points, the Nasdaq added 59, and the S&P was up 14. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu. Invested in you.
Guys, waking up over and over to pee is not okay. You can reduce those nighttime bathroom trips with the ingredients in Super Beta Prostate P3 Advanced. You can try a full 30-day bottle free. Just pay shipping and handling. No strings attached, no obligations, and no commitments to buy. Call 1-800-424-7125. 1-800-424-7125. 1-800-424-7125.
Today at Simmons Rockwell, now with 2,000 pre-owned vehicles in stock, you'll find these prior rental values. 2019 all-wheel drive Nissan Rogue Sport S models equipped with a rear view monitor, cruise control, Bluetooth, and 12,000 to 18,000 miles for only $16,099. See the savings online at Simmons-Rockwell.com and shop the Simmons Rockwell dealership near you.
The Ryan Agencies, your local, independent insurance agencies. The Ryan Agency is not beholden to any one insurance company. They work with many companies, offering unbiased insurance advice. Their interest is seeking your best interest. Contact the Ryan Agencies, good people offering unbiased advice, seeking your best interest.
Insurance protection you can rely on. The Ryan Agency.
Okay, and we are back. Now, where was I? Yes. So I'm 12 years old, and we're going to attend midnight mass. About maybe church, maybe 15 minutes away on Long Island. So the priest asked a day or two earlier if anyone there had a snare drum, of all the odd questions. And I said, well, yes, I have a snare, because as I said, I was in a drum and bugle corps for about a month. I have a very short attention span. But anyway, at that time I had a snare drum. So he said, good, how would you like to start off the midnight mass? And I went, oh, wow. Oh, man, I guess so. Boy, howdy. So it's Christmas Eve. And midnight mass, of course, starts when? At midnight. So I got to go to sleep early on Christmas Eve. Now, trying to go to sleep early on Christmas Eve, knowing that you got to get up, around 11 o'clock to go to midnight mass, it was a real chore, but I did it anyway. So we get to the church, and I have my snare drum and the stand and the sticks, and I'm in the back of the church. My job was to start off this entire mass with a drum roll. Yeah, it's not quite like, it didn't quite sound like that. So I'm getting ready, and I'm in the balcony in the back of the church, right smack over the aisle. And I could look out over the entire congregation. And I am so nervous. I mean, I am petrified to do this drum roll to start off this midnight mass. And the idea was I would do the drum roll, and then the procession would start from the back of the church, right? So my palms are sweating. I am dripping in sweat. I am totally petrified. So my mom's on one side, my dad's on the other, and I'm standing in the middle of them right over the aisle, up in the balcony in the back. And I am so excited about doing this. And somebody comes up the stairs and gives me the signal. Go. Okay? Right now, hit it, and away we go. My palms were so sweaty that I'm standing there poised over the snare drum. And I go to do a drum roll, and the drumstick in my left hand slipped out of my hand. And I watched this drumstick fly over the balcony. And it's describing a perfect arc over the congregation. And it's sailing over the congregation and lands right in the middle of the aisle. Now, it had a concrete floor with a thin carpet over it. So instead of hearing a drum roll, everybody hears this clattering of a drumstick. So there's no drum roll, there's no nothing. The stick is gone. Now I have one stick. And I'm thinking, what do I do? How do you do a drum roll with one stick? So my dad, quick thinker that he was, handed me a pen. So I have a pen in my left hand and a drumstick in my right. And I did probably the most unique, lopsided drum roll ever heard, with a pen and a drumstick. And after that, the memory kind of goes blank. I really don't remember what happened. I've been trying all these years to try to wipe this thing out of my memory banks. But it was an experience. So that's how Midnight Mass started, with a snare drum roll with a pen and a drumstick. It was kind of weird. It was a little weird, but that's how that went. And as I said, try as I can, I just cannot get that. Can't really get it out of my memory. Okay, well, that's how that went. And there we go. Now, Brian had a little bit of... is that no? Oh, okay, I thought we were going to do a little more hip hop there. I guess not. Okay, that's it
for the hip hop museum story.
Yes, sir.
I don't have it ready.
Oh well, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, well that's it for this morning's show, I believe. And there was one more. No, there is no time. Maybe I'll have to tell you about this Monday. Okay, fine. I do hear the sounder. All right, that's it for this morning's show, and I will see you Monday at 8:05. Bye.